and today we're talking to Janney. Jim is a good friend of mine, and he has probably done more big canyon exploration, Class 5 kayaking than anybody else that I know in this area. He's a great staple in the whitewater industry and the whitewater community in the southeastern United States. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Avid outdoor adventure, rock climber, mostly whitewater kayaking discipline, but just like you fit in all of that around your professional life. So how would you describe your professional life? Like, what's your title?
So I am a mechanical engineer.
So turn that one towards you. Yeah.
He's good.
And then turn it up. Is it L levels good?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that good?
Yeah, turn it up a little bit. Try to get it towards like facing your. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
All right, so how do you describe your job?
So I'm a mechanical engineer. I work at Oak Ridge National Lab. I work on a project called the Second Target Station Project. So I am it is a particle accelerator-based neutron source. So I'm a nerd.
What does that mean to like a 7-year-old who's really dumb and just has...
So it's like a large-scale science project. So basically the whole purpose of the project is that so neutrons are a tool for understanding like the microstructure of materials, and so you can do things like if you want to image like an engine block and watch like the pistons move and the fluid dynamics in the gas, you can do that with neutrons. If you are like developing new materials for batteries, and you want to understand like how that material interacts like as it's charging and discharging, you can explore that with neutrons.
Okay.
So like there's a wide array of things you can do with neutrons.
And neutrons are part of the particle acceleration process?
Well, so we accelerate protons.
Okay.
And we basically take protons, accelerate them to nearly the speed of light, and slam them into a dense target. In the first target station, which exists at Oak Ridge right now, that dense target is liquid mercury.
Okay.
In the second target station, which is what we're working on, that is tungsten. So it's actually a tungsten wheel that rotates in front of the proton beam to like spread the energy.
I want to see this now. This sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when those high energy protons hit the heavy nuclei, but it's like a billiard ball, and you knock like protons and neutrons out of the tungsten atoms.
Okay.
And so neutrons go flying everywhere. They're at really high energies, and they go through most materials. They're not useful for those experiments that we were talking about earlier. And so in order to make them useful, we need to slow them down. And to do that, you want them to interact with materials that are at lower energy. You want, for neutrons, you generally want something that's dense in hydrogen.
Okay.
So if you're looking for room temperature neutrons, that's water. If you want cold neutrons, that could be like liquid hydrogen is what we use. So you place like a vessel full of liquid hydrogen close to this target, and and then instruments, which is where the science actually happens, they look at that liquid hydrogen, and so neutrons go out those beam lines. And so when we're running, there's 20 of those experiments going at once.
I have like a broad mental picture. Like conceptually, I understand what you're talking about, but like the finer details, I'm like, I have no idea.
So my job is that I work on designing those vessels that hold the liquid hydrogen.
Okay.
And then I also work on the cryogenic system to make liquid hydrogen. So to liquefy hydrogen, at least at atmospheric pressure, it needs to be 20 Kelvin.
Yeah.
So that's minus 253 C.
Yeah.
So at that temperature, everything except for helium and hydrogen is a solid. And so I designed the system that liquefies the hydrogen.
Okay. I want to get more into that later, but like, let's shift gears and go to like some of the outdoor stuff. So where did you grow up, and then kind of like what was your background into outdoor adventure?
Okay, so I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Let's see. I grew up in kind of like dense suburbia.
Okay. That doesn't lend well for the outdoors.
Well,
did your family do a lot of stuff like on the weekends or?
Not necessarily. Well, some on the weekends. But basically all my family vacations growing up were multi-day rafting trips.
Okay.
So, I think we started on the San Juan like when I was 4 and my little brother was 2.
Okay. And your brother is also, like, people should know your brother is also an accomplished whitewater paddler.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
stud.
Yeah. My brother's a more accomplished paddler than I am.
I don't know if I say that, but he's awesome.
So we started on the San Juan, which is like pretty mellow, like class 2, a little bit of class 3, like 5-day rafting trip in the desert.
Was your dad a boater?
I guess. So my dad, his parents took him on commercial rafting trips on, I think, the Maine Salmon and the Grand Canyon when he was a kid.
Okay.
And so in college, he got into rafting and he started doing multi-day raft trips. Like they'd drive up to the Maine Salmon and the Middle Fork. And that was in, I guess, the 70s. And at that point, you just drove up there and there was a permit, but you just like filled it out at the put in.
Yeah, dropped it in a little box
and you were off. So he had gotten really, and you know, they weren't commercially doing this. They were just doing it with their friends. And so once my brother and I were born, they kept doing that. But you know, starting mellow on the San Juan. And then as we got older, you know, we did the Middle Fork, the Maine Salmon, Grand Canyon. And like, you know, at first my brother and I were riding in the rafts. Yeah. And then we started paddling duckies. I think I rode the Grand Canyon when I was like 14.
That's
so like
crazy.
Before I could,
That's
before
awesome.
I kayaked. But we were paddling duckies before I rode the Grand Canyon. And then I think like the summer after I rode the Grand Canyon, we were on the Maine Salmon and like a family friend of ours was in a kayak and I was in a ducky and there was like this great, like pretty mellow surfing wave. Yeah. And, you know, I could surf it in the ducky, but like I couldn't rip on it like he could in the kayak.
Yeah. You're like, okay,
and
this is
so
kind
it's
of cool.
like that was what like kind of finally said like, hey, let's try these.
Yeah.
Try the hard shot.
14, 15?
I was 15.
Okay.
I was 15.
Gotcha. And did you and your brother get into it at the same time?
Yes, but I was like a little bit in front of him.
Okay.
Like I was a little more into it to begin with.
What was your dad's reaction when you guys were like, we're going to hard boat now?
Well, so I guess I should say my dad had been a kayaker. Okay. And, like he was, I would say he was always more of a rafter, but he learned to kayak and like he got good enough that he did the upper gully. Okay. So like but like when we were young, I don't think he was kayaking much at all. Like he was either working. But
he at least like knew.
No.
He was like.
So like so after that trip on the Maine Salmon, I was like spent, you know, a winter doing pool sessions and like learning to roll and stuff like that. And my dad actually took me. So in Missouri, there's basically one whitewater river. Well, there's more whitewater rivers, but there's one that runs way more often than everything else, and it's called the St. Francis. It's actually a great place to learn. It's like, it's bedrock granite, but it's only like class 2, 3. And so it's like super smooth old pink granite. It's a special place. And so I think it was in like February that year. And so it was cold. It was like 35 or 40 degrees. And I convinced my dad to take me with his friends because they were going. Yeah. So he came with me. He kayaked that day with me. And I think I swam like 2 or 3 times, and like I didn't even have a dry top. Like, like I had I had a wetsuit, and like, I was like 15, so dumber and tougher, and I didn't even really get cold. But yeah, that started it. And like that spring, kept going to the St. Francis and like practicing. And then the end of that summer, we had a Middle Fork trip, and my dad and a friend of his who's also a kayaker and me, we kayaked like the top of the Middle Fork, and that's where I like got my first combat role.
Okay.
Was on the Middle Fork, and then just like
took downhill off from there.
Yeah, took off from there.
So did you keep progressing through high school, and did you paddle in college or?
So through high school, like, so I did progress through high school. So I played a lot of hockey in high school, actually.
Okay.
So like, I played for like the high school team that was like affiliated with the high school.
Yeah.
And then I also played for a travel team.
Okay.
So like the travel team was like a year round thing. And the high school team was like probably, I don't know, like October to March, something like that. And like during the season where they overlapped, like I was probably skating, I don't know.
5 days a week, 6 days a week?
No, like 8-10 times a week.
Okay.
Like at least once a day.
Dang.
Sometimes multiple practices. And so like there wasn't that much time during those seasons.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, gradually got better. I would say like by the time I left high school, I was like totally comfortable on the Akoi. And like, I think the summer between high school and college, I kayaked like the Upper Yaak and like the Grand Canyon. And
where'd you go to college?
I went to Cornell. So
okay, I thought you were an Ivy League kid.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but did you paddle in school? Like while you were at college?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there a lot of good whitewater around there?
So there's actually whitewater that's like directly on Cornell's campus.
I've heard What is it? Tell me about it.
So there's basically two creeks that surround like the main part of campus.
Okay.
And one of them is called Fall Creek, and it's the bigger creek, and it actually has like a class 2-3 with like a couple class 5 drops right before a lake that's on campus section. And then below that lake, it like falls off the face of the earth. There's a
like old obscure video of it, or
no, not the big, like I could probably dig up pictures of some of the stuff upstream, but like the big stuff, I don't think anyone's ever run it.
Okay.
Like, so like there's like a 150-foot water, like cascade that's not clean at all.
touchable. Yeah.
And they're like, actually there's like a clean, like 30-foot waterfall in there, but it'd be like really hard to get into and it'd be definitely illegal. But I walked by it like basically as a freshman every day I walked by that on the way to class. The other side of campus is a creek called Cascadilla Creek, and it's smaller. It's a little more gradual, but it still has a bunch of drops that land on rock. Mm-hmm. So there's like a few sections that you could run of that with like, there were like 20-foot slides and stuff that you could run.
Did you ever get up in the morning like dawn patrol and then go to class?
Oh yeah, definitely. like there were definitely times like so. Later, I specifically remember like we woke up and like met at my apartment and just like walked from my apartment, put on at like dawn, and like paddled to the bottom and then like walked back up the hill and like didn't use a car at all.
Okay.
But like that stuff was like rain fed and like fairly uncommon. Like it, ran I don't know, like 10 days a year or something.
Okay.
So we spent more time like going up to the Black to play boat. And there's a couple like really good spots up there, like Hole Brothers and Route 3. Like Route 3 doesn't exist anymore, but it was a play wave that was like, it's named after the Route 3 bridge, and it was close enough to the bridge that the highway lights actually illuminated it. So we used to like go up there on like
a Friday night
or a Saturday night, and like we'd show up there, at 10 o'clock and like paddle for a couple hours and then like just kind of sleep in the bushes in the park and then go down and play at Hole Brothers the next day. It's
crazy. So what'd you study?
I studied mechanical engineering.
Okay. Did you get your master's or all 4 years or?
So I went for 4 years and then I got a master's of engineering.
Okay.
And yeah, like it is fairly intense. But like I still paddled like the whole way through. And, you know, like as I went, like my freshman year, I didn't have a car. So I was like totally reliant on other people for rides and like didn't have my own boat.
Yeah.
But like after freshman year, I had a car and I brought a boat up. And so I was like more in control of my schedule. Yeah. And so like me and a couple friends, who were like similar skill level, we just went and started like exploring. And like, I think like long-term, that was a really good thing. Cause like we would just, you know, like we had there's a guidebook that's for New York, but it's, you know, it's like fairly vague. Like it'll get you to the put in and the take out, but it's fairly vague other than like major obstacles.
Yeah.
And like we just go put onto things and figure it out. And like the New York whitewater, it tends like a lot of it on the western side of the Adirondacks is like lake drop. So it's not like super continuous, you know, you just like paddle up and you're like get to some big cascade and decide if it looks reasonable or not.
Okay.
You just figure it out
Wasn't
for yourself.
boxed in canyon or anything like that?
Not too much. Yeah, not too much. Okay. So like even though engineering school was like intense, I still like went kayaking a lot in the like the fall for like, you know, the I don't know if you've been to like the Beaver and
I've done all the Raquette and all that stuff. Yeah.
So like those, you know, like a lot of people from the Southeast go for the Labor Day weekend, but those releases like keep going.
Okay.
They're not as concentrated. Like I think Labor Day weekend's the only weekend they all release.
Go at the same time.
But like they go for like another month and then the Moose starts releasing after that. So there's like a good variety of.
Daniel and I did a trip where we went up into Canada, did a bunch of that stuff, and then hit the Gully on the way home.
Yep.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So. And then like there's stuff on the eastern side of the Adirondacks or on the high peaks that's like a little more continuous.
Okay.
And I didn't really start going over there until I was like a senior.
But you got like the Northeast kind of like while you were in school, you got a rough.
Yeah, like I mean, by the time I left upstate New York, like I had paddled a lot of the stuff in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. The Ottawa actually wasn't that far away from Cornell, and I didn't go until like my last little bit there. Because I don't know, for some reason I was always more into like exploring and creek boating than I was into play boating, but like the Ottawa's just amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's fantastic.
So when did you go from graduating to how'd you wind up in Tennessee?
So when I was in college, I did an internship at a co-op. So it's like a 2-semester internship at a national lab in California called Sandia National Lab and Sandia Livermore. So it's right next door to Lawrence Livermore National Lab. So like that got my kind of like made me aware of the national labs. And so when I was getting out of college, like the Southeast was one of the places I was thinking of moving just for the abundance of kayaking. And so I was looking at jobs at Oak Ridge and came down and interviewed and
charmed your way in.
Yeah, I guess they saw something in me and decided that they would hire me for that position.
And you've been there ever since?
Yeah. So okay. that was like 17 and a half years ago.
Dang.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was like fresh out of finishing my master's. Like I think I graduated in December, And then I went to New Zealand for like January and some of February.
I wanted to get into some of that stuff too, because you've done some pretty you've done some international travel with a kayak that I don't think very many people have heard about some of these places. So I want to get into the work stuff and then we'll go into some of that international travel. But like, what was your, from when you started there, like, can you give me like a 5-minute, maybe rough outline of some of the projects you've worked on to the present day?
Okay. So I started actually at what's called the Spallation Neutron Source. So that's the facility that exists now. And the project that I'm working on now is called the Second Target Station, this new target station that hasn't been built yet. So I started at SNS, and I started working in target systems, which includes like the Mercury target that actually holds the target itself, and other components in that system. I basically worked on I was in that role at SNS, and I started as more junior and gradually got more responsibility. But
you're developing the components for that system, or
so when I started that system, so that target SNS had been built, and it had started operating, I believe, in 2006, and I started in 2008. So you're like this proton accelerator puts a lot of energy into the target with each one of those pulses that are hitting 60 times a second. Like the whole goal of the project is to deliver neutrons to instruments, and instrument science people fly in from all over the world, universities in the US and all over the world to have beam time. And so you don't and this is all sponsored by the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy, they want the facility up and operational as much as possible. So our job is to, keep it running. Facility.
Does that thing run 24/7?
So it runs 24/7 during operations.
Okay.
And then there's like an optional maintenance day.
Okay. So how when you first you're progressing in your career, you get through all that, everything's going good, and then you're still finding time to go on these massive international kayaking trips. How did you plan those sequenced out? What was the first one that kind of got you addicted to it or got your interest peaked?
All right, so I went to New Zealand, the first real international kayaking trip I went in, I'd been to Canada to paddle.
That's kind of I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't really count. If you can drive there, I don't think it counts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been to Canada and Mexico paddling. Yeah. That's about it. I've never, I don't know.
So I went to New Zealand before I started, and actually.
Did you rent boats out there? Did you fly boat?
So my mom's cousin was a professor at university in Christchurch.
Okay.
And so he kind of helped me out, and I also happened to have a friend who was there, who was leaving right before I got there, so he sold me his boat. And, nice. And my mom's cousin helped me get set up, and then off I went to the West Coast and flew up rivers in helicopters and.
Did you have all the logistics planned before you got there, or did you kind of figure it out as you went?
Kind of figured it out as I went. I didn't have a group or anything.
Did you solo at all, or?
No. So there's a campground near Hokitika that's, I don't know how much it is now, because I think the New Zealand heyday, basically the price of flying helicopters got
ridiculous,
got too expensive. But at that point, there was a campground that all the kayakers were staying
at. You get a heli shuttle every day from that campground?
Not every day. Every day.
That's crazy. Or close to it?
And you usually wouldn't shuttle from the campground. You'd drive to the takeout of the river, and then they'd pick you up and fly you up. But yeah, basically every day, the paddlers there who wanted to paddle would decide what river they were going to run together, and then we'd all just drive
split a chopper.
Yeah, drive out there. Yeah, because it's the more people you have, the cheaper it is, because you're paying for the price for them to fly the chopper to the river and then
up.
Yeah. So Yeah, so that was my first international trip. And then after that, I didn't do too much international kayaking for a while. Like mostly, I mean, like, yeah, once I started working, I had 3 or 4 weeks of vacation, and I would spend like all of it going to California or, other destinations for kayaking, but mostly in the U.S. Like usually it was California, like a couple trips to Wyoming, for some things in the Wind River Range and like the Clarks Fork Box. But yeah, lots of trips going to California. And so, yeah, I still remember, I think it was my second year. It was like a year after I'd started O&L. Like my brother and I and one other friend went out to California for a week. And like at that point, I was paddling class 5 here, but like I hadn't been on any big expeditions. And we went and we did like the Middle Feather for like Devil's Canyon through Bald Rock. And then we did the South Merced, and then we did Dinky Waterfalls, and that was like a week. And like at that point, it was like, oh, we can actually like we're like not that we're running all the rapids on this thing,
right?
But like we can hang out here, we can figure it out.
So for people that don't know, explain the difference between like class 4 or 5 and expedition class 5. Like you know what I mean though? Like
yeah, it's the different. I think it's the difference between like, on normal class 4-5, you might have like a handful of class 5 rapids in the day, and you can like you're not, you can walk them if you want to. You can, take your time scouting. Whereas like if you're running class 5 all day long, like you and for like days, one after another. For one, you have a loaded boat, so it's heavy, and then you're just doing it like day after day, and like just coming to horizon lines and got to figure it out. Coming to a horizon line, got to figure out, and like you might come to something that's like in a gorge where you might prefer to walk around it, but decide that walking around it looks worse than running it, and so you paddle it anyways. Yeah, like you might spend some time like trying to figure out how to portage and being like, actually, I'm just gonna
send it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna paddle this thing instead. So yeah, that was like the light bulb went off because I was like, oh, like those, we can do what those guys in the movie, like Seven Rivers Expedition, was like one of my favorite kayaking movies. Yeah. Like in college is like, oh, we can we're not. I'll never be as good as a kayaker as like, prime John Grace or Tommy Hillicky, right. But like, I can go run. I can go paddle those rivers, yes. And like have a good time, and it's not like a terrifying experience for me. Yep.
So were you taking those trips with Tom? Like, were you?
Yeah. So mostly with Tom.
Okay.
He's a pretty like most of my kayaking trips have my brother was there.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like it just went from there. Like I think later that summer we went and did like Upper Cherry and part of the Post Pile with like Kirk was there for that one also. Kirk Edelman.
Yeah.
And Tom also, and then it just like it kept going from there. Where like if I wasn't hurt, I was gonna go to California like
every summer,
3 weeks a summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you kind of got your teeth wet on the California stuff, like, what was the next international trip you did?
All right. So,
you did Russia.
Well, yeah.
I know that's on down, yeah. But like.
So in, let's see, it was like 2014. So I had been working at Oak Ridge for like, I guess, like 7 years at that point. 6 years. Is that right? Yeah, 6 years. And like, approaching 30, and my brother and I had always had this dream of going on like an extended kayaking trip. Yeah. So I guess I'm trying to think. So the way Tom's job was supposed to be is that he was supposed to work a day a month. So he would, like, he worked the first day of May, and then we drove like straight to Dinky Waterfalls, and we spent all of May and June in California just paddling.
Would he come back, work a day, and then go back?
And then, so he was supposed to work a day, and so he worked the last day of June and the first day of July.
Gotcha.
And then we took off again and like went up to the Pacific Northwest, and eventually, like on that part of the trip, we went up as far north as we went to the Stikine, and then like in the middle of September, so like after we've gone north and driven back to Durango where my brother lives, we flew to Peru for like, I think Peru was like 7 weeks. So we did 7 weeks in Peru, flew back to the U.S., spent like a few days in the U.S., and then flew to Nepal and spent 8 weeks in Nepal. And so that was like...
All right, I'm going to back you up a little bit. Explain the Stikine.
Okay.
For people who have no idea what the Stikine is, what is it?
So the Stikine is like the...
People call it the Everest.
At that point, I would say it was the pinnacle of like big water kayaking. In the last 10 years, I would say that has morphed to be the Indus in Pakistan. Mm-hmm. But in 2014, like the Stikine was starting to be run often by then, but like it was only in the last, like 5 or 6 years before that.
Yeah.
And so we weren't like, I would say we didn't, it was like, if you had asked me at the beginning of that trip if we were going to go run the Stikine, I probably would have said no. But you paddle class 5 every day, and like your comfort level just grows and grows. And we had some friends who were going up there to do it, and so we were like hanging out in Squamish and Whistler, like running the Ashley, and we actually. There's a run outside Squamish called Fear Canyon on the Ilaho, and I think that's one of like the best training runs for the Stikine. Like if you're running that at like medium high water, and it's a lot shorter, and it's not. I mean, it's got like mini canyons on it. It's not like super deep like the Stikine is, but it's got that pushy big water feel, and like there's some power out there, and by the like. We spent a couple days on it, and by the end we were running laps on that in like 20, 30 minutes, and like felt pretty comfortable.
Just ripping.
Yeah. So on up we went.
But like talk about some of the remoteness of the Stikine. It's like I know people do it in a day, which just blows my mind. But
so it's I'm not like a Stikine aficionado. Like I've only done it once, but it's like roughly, it's something like 60 miles long, I think. And basically like the first half of it is there's like a little bit of flat water at the beginning before you get to Entrance Falls. And then it's in this like super deep canyon basically the whole time, like 1,000-foot deep. And there's nothing out there except for like there's some the goats of the Stikine, so there's these mountain goats that live in the canyon. But other than that, there's nothing around. So you put in at this bridge on the Stewart Cassier Highway, and then you take out in this town called Telegraph Creek, and like in between there's nothing. There's nothing. So it's quite remote, and it's like for big water like that, it's relatively continuous. Problems can compound quickly. Mm-hmm. Like you do not want to be out of your boat. You don't want your skirt to blow. You don't want to lose your paddle or to break it. It's serious. It's serious.
But good trip. Everything went well.
Relatively well.
Relatively.
Yeah, I felt like I paddled really well on the Stikine, and it was like most rivers when I get off of them, I'm like, I want more.
Yeah.
And the
that when you were good,
Stikine, I was like, that went well, and
yeah,
it's just high risk. Yeah, it's real high risk.
So from there, you guys go to Nepal. What'd you knock off in Nepal?
So actually from there we went to Peru first.
Okay.
So we went to Peru, and basically we booked tickets to Lima, and we didn't book tickets any further because we weren't sure our boats were going to make it. And then we also weren't sure we could get our boats onto the next flight from, our ultimate goal was to go to Arequipa to run the Colca and the Cotahuasi. And so, we get into Lima at like 2 a.m. Our boats make it, and we basically like book a flight on the spot to take us to Arequipa, and they'll take our boats there. So we end up in Arequipa. I should also say we speak like no Spanish, so we're
a lot of hand gestures.
We're like slowly figuring things out. So we like spend a day in Arequipa to get grounded, and then like we hitch a bus out to where the Colca is, and like it took getting on a couple, like we got turned down from a couple buses because they don't want to take the boats, but eventually we got a bus out there.
It's funny how pesos make the buses get bigger.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And we spent a night in a hostel like on the rim in a town called Carmen Conde, and then hiked like, I don't know, a couple miles, like just like switchbacking down the hill forever, down into the Colca, and then we paddled the Colca for like 5 days, kind of out to the coastal plain. And it's a cool river. It's a super deep canyon. There's a ton of loose rock falling all the time. We would pay a lot of attention to where we were like setting up the tent to sleep.
That's wild.
Yeah. And so it was just me and my brother. And then we got off we paddled for 5 days, and like we were still figuring out like our Peruvian rations.
Yeah.
So like we had some like, we didn't bring enough food, I don't think. And we had oatmeal that was like unsweetened, and we'd like run out of raisins to put in it. And we were like hungry enough that we're fighting over this like nasty unsweetened oatmeal. Yeah. But yeah, so like eventually, we pop out of the canyon, like paddle out to a small town, and we like hike to the town square, and we're waiting for the bus at this bus stop. And we're talking to like a guy who runs a small shop at this bus stop, and he's super nice, and he's like telling us there's 3 buses coming later, and like the first 2 buses just like they see the kayaks and just don't stop.
Yeah.
And then like the third one shows up, and he like the shopkeeper like forces this bus to stop, and like basically tells them they're gonna take us. And so like they rearrange a bunch of luggage to fit us on. There's no seats on this bus anymore. But they get our boats underneath, and like we're sitting up front with the driver, and like the driver's
Not
helper
happy.
there.
Yeah.
No. So we're like sitting up front, and they're like asking us basic questions in Spanish, and they're like, we can like barely answer them, and they're just dying laughing the whole time because they're like, what are these gringos like doing out here in the middle of nowhere in Peru who can't speak Spanish? Like, where did these guys come from? And this is like,
what year is this?
This is 2014, and we're like driving over like a 15,000 foot pass, over from the Colca into the Cotahuasi, like in the middle of the night. And then they drop us off in the town of, by the Cotahuasi, and we like spend a night at the hostel, like spend a day like getting food and figuring out where we need to go to put on for the Cotahuasi. And then the next day we take a bus down the hill towards the Cotahuasi.
What was your shuttle plan for takeout?
So it just it pops up out in a town.
Okay.
And so we popped out, and we figured out where the bus stop was and waited for a bus and took a bus out to the main highway.
What was the Cotahuasi like?
So the Cotahuasi is so we did not go we went like later in the season. Like I think we went in September, and I think if you were going like just for the Cotahuasi and the Colca, you might go earlier, like July, August. But we were also going to try to do like the Apurimac Abismo, which is like on the other side in the jungle. And so we were like, and just like with the North American season, that's when it worked out to go. So the Cotahuasi was more like class 3-4, but it's still like in this massive canyon,
Yeah.
you know, like, and, you know, deep little mini canyons in there that you go through that are like super narrow and like crazy geology. Like the Colca actually has like, at the top, it's got like geothermal activity. So there's like geysers like shooting out of the walls into the river as you're paddling down. And you know, some of them have like just like we were there at relatively low water. And so like there's these canyons with like chalk stones the size of houses like over the water. And you like run some class 5 in a canyon and then like paddle under like in a little like channel under a rock the size of a house to like sneak around it. So
That's
yeah,
nuts.
But yeah, those rivers are super remote, like super remote.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, they're like some of the deepest canyons in the world. Like you were not like walking out. Once you were in there, you know, it's just like decomposing rock that's falling apart, like scree fields for like 5,000 feet up on either side.
So you explore Peru.
Yeah, so we explored Peru.
Did you catch a flight straight to Nepal, or did you
No,
go back home?
we flew back home and spent like a weekend.
Okay. He worked his 2 days. His obligatory
No,
2 days.
I think at that point he had told him he wasn't going to mess with it. And
He's like, screw you guys.
Yeah, and he was close enough, and they let it slide for him. So then we flew to Nepal, and let's see. Yeah, like Nepal is kind of a crazy place.
Did you get the Karnali?
What's that?
Did you do the Karnali?
Yeah, we did the Karnali. But like you fly into Kathmandu, and
It's
of
wild.
course, yeah.
It's the Wild West.
So Kathmandu's like, it's like a million people, but it's got like there's some paved streets, but there's also still dirt streets and stuff. And like we of course there was a traffic accident like with the van that we had hired before we even got out of Kathmandu. But eventually we like got up and we went to the Bodhi Kosi, which is like it's like along the only road between like Nepal and China. And so you know, you'd think this would be like a big highway, but like a mile of the road was missing with this huge landslide. And so it's like buses and vans and 18-wheelers like taking a run at like a big hill.
Yeah.
Like in this like landslide, just, you know, like craziness that you'd never see here to try to get through this like missing part of the road. But yeah, so we went up and paddled the Bodhi Kosi and the Sun Kosi, which is like, it's like I think it used to be like people used to paddle it in the monsoon season when it was like really big, but it was like a 4 or 5 day trip for us, but it was relatively mellow.
Nice little warm up.
Yeah. And then, and that's actually kind of in the eastern part of Nepal. And then we took a bus back to Nepal, which like the buses in Peru are actually like somewhat pleasant. The buses in Nepal are like, it's like being on a shake table for like
luxury travel or
no. It's like being on a shake table where like the
okay.
bus is just like rattling, like the roads are terrible.
Gotcha.
So like Kathmandu and Pokhara are the biggest 2 cities in the country, and they're like 100 kilometers apart or something. And it takes like 6 hours to get between them. It's like parking lot speed. I mean, but that's because there's
potholes and
there's potholes, there's missing parts of the road, there's people, livestock, bikes, scooters, trucks, like everything is on this one road, and so nothing happens fast there. But yeah, so like eventually we start moving our way west, and like at the end of that trip to Nepal, like we did, I think it was 6 days on the Tuliberry, which is a great run. It's like the first, it's like gradually getting bigger and bigger, but it's just got like, I don't know, like hundreds of kilometers of like hard class 4, easy class 5, like relatively continuous.
All right.
With some bigger rapids thrown in.
The scenery sucks too, I've heard.
Yeah. Big mountains. And then after we got off the Tuliberry, we did the Karnali.
What was that like?
So that is, you fly into a town called Simikot, which is like at 10,000 feet. And then you carry your boats and all your gear, or you hire porters to help you carry your stuff down to the river. And then you're like, there's towns along these rivers, but there's no road access. But you're maybe like 250 kilometers from like the closest town, like closest road. And it's still like a middle of nowhere town that just has where the road pops out. And so I think the total trip down to like where you hit the Terai, like where basically the Karnali goes into the Indian floodplain, is like 350 kilometers. And so we did it in like 10 or 11 days. And
did you just stock up on a bunch of food in that town? Or did you plan that out?
So I think we had supplies for like the first 6 days to where we hit the road. And like the things you could stock up on in those towns, it was variable, but like you could buy like beer and whiskey,
the essentials.
Yeah, cream cookies. What else could you buy? Like ramen and rice, and that was like maybe an onion. There wasn't like much you could buy there. But we actually I think we were on the Karnali for Thanksgiving, and we like bought a whole chicken.
Yes.
For Thanksgiving to celebrate.
That's awesome.
Like cooked it over a campfire as best we could. But yeah, then you pop out at like a big highway bridge after 10 days, and I think we actually spent some time at like a Nepali national park, like saw some like tigers and rhinos, and
that's awesome
stuff like that, like up close and personal. Maybe too close and personal.
Yeah.
The tigers were a long way away, but we saw a rhino like closer than was comfortable. They're big. It's like the size of a Suburban.
So what was the did you go straight from Nepal to Russia?
No. So Russia was a totally separate trip.
Okay, so you did that on.
What
was Nepal? You finished that out
and then basically flew back to Dallas, spent a night in Dallas, drove whatever it is, like 14, 15 hours back to Knoxville, and slept, and then showed up back at work the next day.
Yes. Blended right back in.
Yeah, right back at it. Yeah, and then I guess after that, I like Daniel Brazel and I, we did an international trip to Europe where we paddled in like Austria and Germany and Italy and Slovenia.
Okay.
That was like a couple-week trip. Like totally facilitated by these Austrian brothers, Harry and Rainer Glanz.
I've not met Harry. I've met Rainer.
Okay.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So those guys like gave us the whole tour. It was like we couldn't have done it without them. Like they they were paddling with us a lot, and when they couldn't, they'd just like let us keep their van and
their wheels.
Yeah, their wheels, and like they'd take a train back to go work for a couple days and then come back out and paddle with us again.
I got to paddle with Reiner on the green.
Okay.
He's a madman.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I guess it's, yeah. So like, and yeah, I've been to Mexico also, where I was able to sneak in a couple days of paddling in Japan. There's a guy named Yoshi there who runs a rafting company, and actually through Daniel and Darren McCoy knew Yoshi, and so they set me up with him, and basically like I took the like high speed bullet train, the Shinkansen, like down to his town, and he like
hooked you up,
picked me up, like I think I had all my gear, but he had a boat for me, and like then we
rallied.
We like rallied around Japan for a few days, and then he like dropped me back off, took the Shinkansen into Tokyo, and like flew home.
Dude, that's epic.
Yeah. But then I think it was, let me think, it was 2019 that I went to Russia. So actually, so in 2018 I got married to my wife Cassie, and then we were expecting our first child in 2019, and so Russia was kind of like like a final hurrah trip before parenthood, and so it was like end of July I think we flew over there. It was really like it was mostly Colorado guys, like a guy named Rolf Kelly, and a guy who splits time between Tennessee and California named Dave Liu. They kind of like really set it up. Like I was kind of just along for the ride on that one in terms of like logistics.
Okay.
Because like when you go to Russia, you can't just like you can't do what we did in Peru and Nepal, where you just like show up and like wander around until you can find a bus to take you to the right place, and then like get off the river and like
What's travel inside the country like?
So you have to have a sponsor. So basically, that's like a tour guide.
Gotcha.
I mean, I guess like a Russian
someone
citizen.
they can go after if you guys screw up and do something stupid.
Well, someone who's just supposed to like escort you in the country. So we went through a kayak tour operator, a guy named Vasily, who's like he's a super good paddle. Like he was involved in, like I don't know. Like he was definitely involved in first descents of like a lot of the hard rivers in Russia and like also elsewhere in Asia. Like,
gotcha.
So he's like super solid paddler.
Were you guys going after one river on that trip, or were you just trying to get a bunch?
I mean, we were trying to paddle as much as we could, but I think the Boschhaus was really, like that was like the one of the main.
What was that like?
So yeah, it was an interesting trip. So it was like our second river of the trip, I think. Like we had done the Mazhoe Gorge, which is like kind of, it's like the closest thing to roadside in Russia. It's not actually roadside, but it's like relatively convenient, but it's still like, it's big water and it's in a gorge, and there's like some serious class 5. So we had like warmed up on that, and then like drove to the Boschhaus. It was raining, and the river was like already kind of like medium high to high, and like I think Vasily wanted to do it in a day. Like it's normally done in 3 days. He wanted to do it in a day. I think because he was and Vasily, like he spoke English, but he wasn't like, he was like functionally fluent, but he couldn't like articulate small details. So I think he wanted to do it in a day because he was nervous the water was going to come up. And so eventually we decided to do it in 2 days. And so we paddled like all the big rapids day 1 to try to get through before the water came up. And it's steep, it's powerful. It's not as the river's not as big as the Stikine, but it's like steeper and more continuous. But it's super high quality. It's great. But it's also like there's some big rapids
big
on
stuff
it.
in there.
Yeah. And like I definitely portaged a few times. Like I think everyone did on our trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I remember like kind of towards the end of that day, like someone in our group was like, they just wanted to like, hey, like, let me slow down for a minute. And so like we asked Vasily to slow down. Like when we finally caught an eddy, we're like, Vasily, slow down a little bit. And he's like, okay, I catch every eddy. He peels out and we bomb class 5 for like half an hour until Vasily gets like destroyed in this hole and he breaks his paddle and swims, which like fortunately it was like the only place in that stretch where there was like
a pool below,
enough of a pool to like recover his gear without like losing everything. And so like then we finally got to stop, and so we after that we paddled a little bit further and got to camp, like past most of the big rapids, but then the river came up like another, I don't know, like foot or something that night, and it was like it started like really surging and getting super chaotic,
getting spicy.
Yeah, but we were through all the big rapids,
okay.
or most of the big rapids, other than there's an enormous landslide at the end. That I think at lower water you can portage like at river level, and instead it was like we were portaging like, I don't know, like a couple hundred feet off the deck, like, and it's all like it's all falling apart. So like everyone who goes, it's getting like more like and more more unstable, and you can't put your boat down, and you're portaging for like half an hour, 45 minutes, like on this unstable stuff you can't put your boat down or anything. And towards the end of it actually wasn't, it was one of Vasily's like I guess friends who was helping him for the trip, this guy named Igor. He like slid and dropped his boat into the river and was able to stop himself, but his boat like shot 200 feet into this huge rapid and like exploded and like ripped a hole and like just like ripped the boat in half. And so like, and then Vasily like took off chasing the boat. Like after this, it really mellowed out.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Vasily like just took off chasing that boat, and like the rest of us finished portaging and like basically helped. Like Igor was just like swimming big rapids or like floating on the back of people's boats to get to the takeout. So. Okay.
So you finish that trip, come home. It's 2019.
Yeah.
You guys have your first kid.
Yeah. So actually, so I don't know how much I want to talk about this. Layla was expected to be born in like around Thanksgiving, and I was getting back in the middle of August, and basically as I was waiting in the airport to fly home, Cassie, my wife, had gone to the hospital and got put on bed rest in the hospital. So like there's, I'm waiting in the airport in Novosibirsk in Siberia. Like there's nothing I can do to get home any earlier. And so like I fly back to the US, get back to Knoxville, and like for 3 weeks, basically she's on bed rest where she's like going in and out of labor. And then after 3 weeks, Layla was born like 3 months premature. So like
Gotcha.
27 and a half weeks. And so she spent like 100 days in the NICU. But like fortunately, she was like she was like 2 pounds. But like fortunately, once she was born and like stabilized after she was born, she like had a just like steady improvement. Good. And like no real setbacks, other than being in the NICU forever. And she has no long-term like side effects from being born premature. So awesome. We're lucky.
So how do you guys have 2 kids now? So how do you and your wife fit adventuring into your current lifestyle?
With difficulty.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know this.
What are some like practical things though? Because like every family does it a little different, and like I pick stuff up from like how everybody does it.
Okay. So let's see. So obviously like your kids are changing all the time. So it's been, it's constantly changing, right? And you just have to adapt to where they are. So we've taken them, like not hard kayaking, but like in duckies or on rafts. We've taken them, like bike rides with like shotgun seat type things. We do a lot of that. They like rock climbing also. And I've taken Layla like skiing. So like they love camping. They like to do it. They both went on some kind of like rafting or ducky trip before they were 1. They both went on overnight trips before they were 2. But we try they can't swim. There's no point in doing anything hard, like challenging at all. So like we take it, we don't do any hard whitewater, but we do splashy things that are fun for them. Like,
duckies are awesome for that kind of stuff.
And there's a lot of good, easy kayaking around, Knoxville. So there's a variety of rivers that we run. And then like, I guess when Evan was 2 and Layla was 4, we took them down the San Juan.
Okay.
I think maybe. Is that right? Or was it? Yeah, I think 2 and 4. And then, so they've been down the San Juan a couple times now, which is like, again, like mostly class 2, maybe a touch of class 3. But yeah, we don't try to push them to do anything. Like I want to show them all of these things and like let them, let them go after what they're interested in. So like, and that's not to say we like totally listen to all of their demands, but like, a lot of weekends we'll ask them whether they want to go, like, do you want to go paddling or climbing or biking, and just that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
I think you get, like, if you involve them in that decision-making process a little bit,
gives them a sense of agency.
You get a little more buy-in.
Yeah.
But and just like taking them with their friends is also like super helpful. Like this last weekend, we did the French Broad where it comes out of the mountains, like between Del Rio and Newport. We actually, like, there were 4 families, so we had 7 kids between ages 3 and 6. Like, it spread around duckies, but they were all in the same raft at one point.
Just caravan down the river.
Yeah. But yeah, they, as they get older, they're liking it more and more and getting more into it.
Do any of your coworkers know some of the stuff you've, like, do they have any idea, like, what your passions, hobbies are?
Yeah. So, my boss, or manager, whatever you want to say. So we've either been coworkers or he's been my boss for like the majority of the time I've been at Oak Ridge, like all but like a year or 2.
So he kind of knows.
And so he knows. He has a good, and he's also like an ultra runner.
Okay.
Like he runs hundreds pretty regularly, and like I've taken him kayaking and climbing before, and so like he knows, like he has a good idea.
He's in the game.
And he's also seen me like come in broken. Like I've been pretty lucky. Like I haven't had any like really bad accidents, but I've like
broken a wing or 2 here and there.
I've like dislocated my shoulder, and I've broken my my heel, my calcaneus. So he's seen me come in on like crutches and stuff like that. So,
all right, you ready for the biggest question? What's the coolest thing you've ever done in a whitewater kayak?
So you even prompted me for this one beforehand, and I still don't have a good answer. Like, so I'm drawn so much to like the like big long trips that like it's not really about the individual moments.
Well, what's the biggest accomplishment that you feel like you've...
It's still tough. I mean, you know, there's been plenty over the years. Like we had 1 week long trip where we did the Middle Kings first, and then we did the Devil's Postpile just like back to back. Like that was a big week. We were pretty broken when we finished that off. And again, that was me and Tom.
Just two of you?
We were the only ones who did both. We had a couple friends come on the Middle Kings, and then one other friend joined us for the Postpile. So doing those like back to back, like in pretty tight succession, that was pretty good. And just like some of the, you know, I just like exploring new places. So like, in some ways this trip was like from a whitewater perspective. So we did like, we basically put on to Bull Lake Creek in the Wind River Range in Wyoming, like higher than anyone else had at that point. And like had to figure out like all the logistics of getting into this super remote place, like kind of, I think it was like a 14 or 15 mile off trail hike off trail for a lot of it, into these like beautiful glacial lakes. So like Bull Lake drains, or that fork of Bull Lake drains the Dinwiddie Glacier, which is like maybe one of the biggest glaciers in the lower 48. So it's like this beautiful milky blue water. And like the whitewater was kind of a bust on that upper section. Oh yeah, it'd be like good drop, and then like waterfall with a good lip, and then there's like a chalk stone that you would hit on the way down. It was just like totally like that repeatedly, like good waterfall, like right into like cascade onto rocks, just like the sharpest rock ever.
What's your
but
favorite?
You know, just like figuring that out and like solving that puzzle.
Yeah. What's your favorite run around home base?
Around home base?
Yeah.
Oh,
like what's some good stuff on the plateau that you like? What's some good stuff in like the Smokies that you like?
So right now, because I have a 4-year-old and 6-year-old at home, it's like pretty focused on bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And so in terms of Class 5 around Knoxville, there's like 2 champions for that, and that is the West Prong of the Little Pigeon. So that's the river that flows into Gatlinburg and the Smokies. And it's like, if you put in up at Allen Cave and go all the way down to Sugarlands, it's like 7 miles of Class 5. And if there's no wood, you don't have to get out of your boat at all. So you can, and it, I don't know, you drop something like over 2,000 feet, and you can do that in like a couple hours. So that's one of them. The other one is Henderson Creek, which is outside of Dayton, Tennessee. So this is to the west of Knoxville. So Henderson is on Walden Ridge, which is basically the ridge that extends, so the ridge west of Knoxville that extends from Chattanooga north to like basically up towards Crossville, where you live. And it basically like, I don't know, every like 5 to 10 miles going down the ridge. So the ridge goes from north south, and so like every 5 to 10 miles there's another creek that drops in, and pretty much they're all good. But I would say for the Class 5 ones, like Henderson's the crown jewel. And so it starts out like tiny little creek, and it's got a fairly long paddle in, but then like you like make this portage, and it just gets so good for like the last couple miles of Henderson proper. So it's like that section is like, I don't know, 400 or 500 foot per mile, like low volume creeking.
I loved it. I did it like 7-8 years ago, and like
Yeah, so I try to do that like as often as possible. So it starts out with a slide section, and then it's just got these couple boulder gardens and like Spoonman and Fire Escape that they just drop and drop.
Spinal adjustment was.
Yeah. Yeah, so like just super high quality, and like you never see anybody else out there, like never. And then once you get off Henderson proper, it drops you onto the upper parts of Richland Creek, and usually if Henderson's running, like Richland's going to be fairly high, and so it's like steep, powerful boulder gardens, and like it's normally like a class 4 section, but pretty much if you're coming off Henderson, it's going to be high enough to be like.
What's the level? Like it's over a foot pretty much every time you get on Richland.
Yeah, you want it. I think you want Richland to be over a foot when you drive up for sure.
Richland's my favorite creek.
Oh yeah,
like of all time.
Okay.
As far as like in Tennessee,
I didn't know that.
Like that's my backyard. Not all the time solo, but most of the time.
Okay.
Like, if I got 45 minutes,
that's where you're going.
I can go hike. I can go hike that and paddle that in 45 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So, so those two creeks, but like I love the opportunity to do any of the other creeks on Walden Ridge. Like in the last few years, I've gotten on McGill Creek a couple times.
Okay.
That's kind of like
that's a little obscure. Yeah.
Under the radar, but it's super good. It's super good. As long as the wood's in a good situation, like there's not that much like big class 5 on it, but there's a whole lot of like good class 4 and like a few really good rapids at the end.
What advice? I'll get you out of here. I know you got stuff to do, but like, what advice would you give to a new paddler who's just realized that like whitewater's their thing, and they're just now like, okay, I know this is my thing. Like this is the thing I want to get good at. What now?
Lots of time in the saddle. Like just go do it. And then just constantly be trying new things, whether that's new things on rivers that you haven't run before, or running new rivers that are totally new to you. Try to as much time in the boat as possible, and as much trying new things as possible. And like I was never a person, like when I was coming up in kayaking, like I knew about the rivers at the top end, like, but I was like, I'll never be good enough to do like the Middle Kings and the Upper Cherry and things like that. And then like, so it was never like a goal to go do that. Mm-hmm. It was just a goal to like keep exploring in a kayak and like not really even get better, just keep exploring in a kayak. And like when I felt comfortable in one place, I was like, well, I guess this one that's a little harder would make sense. So we'd go try it. And I also think there's a lot of value. Like a lot of people, especially in the Southeast, like people really rely on other people to show them down things. And I think they miss out on that, like figuring things out for themselves. Mm-hmm. And they become too reliant on like just following people down things. So like, and when you're first starting out, that's valuable.
You have to.
Yeah.
Kinda,
like
sort of.
it helps keep you safe. But like, I don't know, in college, we didn't have that option, and we just started, we just start showing up and figuring out things that either some of them we weren't even sure like anyone had run before. We just go show up and figure it out. And like that skill set still translates, because like, my brother and I could go get dropped off by a bus in the middle of nowhere in Peru. And
probably
pretty
figure it
confident,
out. Yep.
Even dropping into some huge canyon, that we were going to be able to figure it out, to come out the bottom 5 days later. So I think, but really it's all like time in the boat, trying new things. Yeah.
No substitute for experience.
Yeah. So like trying new things, be that play boating, different kinds of kayaks, new places, all of it. So.
Well, dude, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll get you back in here sometime soon.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, I appreciate you doing it. I'll get you out of here, man.
Okay.